Next up is the best women's rugby player on the planet. Of course, that is the Red Rose herself, Emily Scarratt, and just wanted to see how she's getting on during this lockdown period.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's a weird one for everyone. But to be fair, I'm kind of managing to keep myself pretty busy. Obviously, I'm quite fortunate. My parents live on a farm, so that's a pretty isolated life in itself. So I built a gym up in one of the sheds, which is quite it's decent. I'm quite impressed with it, to be fair. I've got hay bales as my squat rack and things like that. Very kind of stereotypically farmer, but yeah. So just keeping busy, trying to do a few jobs, help that out a little bit, which obviously I'm not normally able to do. So yeah, it is what it is, but surviving so far.
Good on you. I've seen a few of the videos which you've put out and England Rugby have put out in terms of your sessions, kicking, as well as your weight training. Are we having a little insight into potentially your second career?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Are you not set for the farm life then?
Well, I don't know. I think I'd probably be a lot more involved by now if I was going to be. My brother's heavily involved. I'm more kind of manual labour. I'm not particularly skilled in anything. So like I can lift stuff, move stuff, dig stuff, but as soon as it comes to like the technical like tractor work, and it's not a bit of me.
Do you know? Do you reckon you've now got slight insight into what it feels like to be a forward? Technically, maybe not quite there, but manual labour, just push stuff, just run around, just be heavy, just go on, just batter stuff.
I love that. Yeah. Why not? I never thought about it like that.
And I've been speaking to quite a lot of guys from in and around the rugby world. Lots of them are saying that, like for me especially, my wife's so happy to have me at home because I'm able to help out a little bit more with the kids and all the rest of it. I bet your folks are really happy to have you back on the farm and digging in.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, as I say, it's just been nice. Like, obviously, you're so busy, you're normally traveling around the world or busy training or prioritizing rest, which, as a full-time rugby player is so important.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just nice to, like I say, just, be over there, do jobs, what time of day it is, doesn't really matter. What day of the week it is, nobody knows. So that's kind of a little bit like farm life. You just crack on with the job in front of you and, see where you end up. And obviously the sun being out has been nice as well. I didn't actually do much work on the rainy days, surprisingly. My dad has come back to me a bit like,
typical outside back, and no one expects anything else. It's been a hectic period for you the last few years, from the Rio Olympics to transitioning back to 15s, been centrally contracted. We've seen the birth of the Teals 15, Grand Slams in between. Is this the longest period of time you've had just away from the game, just to almost decompress for a little while?
Yeah, definitely. I think even ever since I first got capped in 2008, a lot of us often reminisce, because you used to play 7s and 15s back then, you'd literally you'd do a 15 season, then traditional summer came, you'd jump into a 7 season, and then you'd be straight back you'd quite often miss pre-season because you'd been playing 7s, and then it would literally just be a continual kind of revolving season into the next season. So yeah, this is definitely the biggest amount of time that I've had away from the game, not around your teammates, not playing, obviously you're still doing bits and stuff, but definitely kind of that intense environment for sure.
Play welfare is obviously a massive topic, and that should never go away dependent, regardless of the circumstance. So how's your body and your mind reacting to this period of effective downtime?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because it's finding motivation is hard. I'm sure you'll have found it as well. You're so used to bouncing off the people around you in order to train. Sometimes you won't be feeling like it, and everybody feels like that at some stage. But then you have those people around you to pick you up and come on, let's go and do this. Whereas you don't have that now, so it's got to be very internal. And as much as we all kind of rally around each other, on the phone, social media, video calls or whatever, it is definitely different. So it's just about for me, it's like setting new targets. So it's not about, when I go back, will I be fit to play a rugby match? It's more about potentially, will I go back and still be able to fit in my jeans and stuff like that. So you've got to just set different targets. I don't know, maybe you're doing some training that you're not used to doing that you can obviously do in this time now. So I'm not really a runner, so I've been trying to do a 5K a week and just trying to slowly edge that time down, because that's not my thing at all. I need a ball and I need something skillful to do. So it's just about kind of changing the focus a little bit. It's not about you know, the first day we're out of lockdown being ready to play 80 minutes of rugby, because that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
It's about doing something else that perhaps you enjoy, getting out on your bike if that's something you like. I don't know, it's just kind of changing the focus a little bit, I guess.
I guess that's really nice, because you'd have had injuries in your career, and I've had my fair share of injuries, and you could look at them really negatively, and I'm not trying to make a direct comparison between that and now, but I guess a period where you're taken away from the sport gives you an opportunity to focus on perhaps other interests, other things, and upskill yourself in other areas, and it seems like that's exactly what you're doing right now.
Yeah, exactly that. And the thing is as well, like our bodies at the moment, because we're not doing any contact, they're actually, touch wood, in a pretty good shape. You know how much contact takes out of you, that kind of weekly grind of contact sessions, and obviously recovering from games at the weekend. So your body's actually in a pretty good position at the moment. But yeah, in terms of like other stuff, I can juggle at the moment with 3 balls, and I've tried to set myself a challenge of learning to juggle with 5, which, let me tell you, is definitely a step too far, but I'm going to go with it. And then just other things, like been doing a couple of courses and stuff like that, which obviously you now have the time to do. And again, just totally different focus. It's not about rugby. It's about kind of potentially looking at life after rugby, or kind of just something for a bit of a mental switch on. So just stuff like that. And it is a really nice opportunity to be able to do different things.
Is there anything you've learnt about yourself which you perhaps didn't realise? A good quality, or perhaps a negative one? I doubt you've got any before this quarantine period.
That's a really good question. Probably that coffee is life. I think I knew that before. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I live by myself, so, and probably not one of the first people that people would recognise as the most sociable. But it's probably made me realise that actually I do really like being around people. Because obviously you're not at the moment, and I suppose you miss those guys, but I won't tell them that too much.
No, of course. Tell me, what's the one thing you've missed about rugby?
It's probably just the girls. It's just being together, just all the like rubbish chat that you have day to day that you all seem to laugh at, or just take, you know, rip into each other. You know what it's like. It's constant, but when you're not there, you kind of realise that that's actually quite a good way of passing some time and getting some laughs.
The world's on pause at the moment, especially rugby. We've seen the men's game going through a little bit of turmoil, a little bit of crisis, and trying to figure out exactly what rugby reset's going to look like as and when it comes back. But there's been some positivity within the women's game, especially in the Tyrrells League, because we've seen another 2 teams that have been added to the roster for next season. So from a women's standpoint, the game's grown from strength to strength. You must be taking a huge amount of confidence out of that.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, like our attendances, so at Six Nations games and off the back of the autumn, all of that sort of stuff has been awesome for us this season. As you say, Tyrrells is kind of going into its second phase, if you like, with a couple of new clubs added. Exeter Sale, obviously, you know, big hitters in the rugby game. So, you know, what that'll look like, obviously we're not sure right now, but hopefully 2, you know, big major additions to the league, which, you know, I'm sure there'll be some movement around in terms of that as well. But yeah, I think frustrating for us, obviously we weren't able to finish the season because obviously I'm going to say this as a Loughborough person, but I felt like we were going well and we perhaps could have done something this season, but it is what it is. We've got next season, and yeah, hopefully a really exciting one, and a trip down to Exeter on a Saturday afternoon and just praying for good weather.
Yeah, it's a decent bus trip back, that's for sure, especially if you've won. But you've got to say, in terms of the women's game in England, it's absolutely outstanding. Professional contracts, as you've already mentioned, the attendances, you are on, and you won't say it, but I will, to win back-to-back Grand Slams. The player pool within England is forever increasing, as we've just mentioned. I mean, it's looking really, really good. Next year, got the World Cup, another Olympics, everything which you've been a part of or want to be a part of. I mean, it's a time to be really excited, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. And you say those, like, the 2 biggest kind of competitions that our game has, obviously Rugby Sevens in the Olympics and the World Cup for us is next year. And, you know, whenever there's a year, and quite often it comes the year after big things like that, doesn't it? But certainly in terms of next year, you know, how can we rally more support? How can we, you know, continue to showcase, hopefully, our product, if you like, in terms of women's rugby, and get more followers, so that, you know, come the Olympics, come the World Cup, you know, we've got people that are really behind us and also wanting to play the sport as well.
Exactly that. Can I ask you a few questions before we finish?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. If you could choose one person to be in isolation with, who would it be? I'm looking at a rugby player.
Wow. Like a female one or a male one?
I'll give you one of each. Take it where you want, Emily.
Gosh, how do I pick a female player? I'm going to go with two, so Mo and Katie.
Okay, so Natasha Hunt, Mo Hunt.
Sorry, and Katie Clean.
Okay, for what reason?
They're just two of my best friends.
They're class characters as well.
Yeah. Average at times, but they'll be all right, yeah. And then, Mo. Should we just leave it as them?
I wasn't trying to take you down that route as you brought it up, but you've clearly thought about it.
Just having some clarification, Hughes.
Okay, I think we'll just cap it there. That's absolutely fine. Okay, brilliant. Okay, the one person you wouldn't go into isolation with.
Oh.
Call them out. This is your time. You're not going to see them for a little while anyway, so what does it matter?
Probably someone like Hannah Botman.
I love her though.
Great value, but she'd eat all my food, and she doesn't get up till about midday. I want to be doing stuff.
She's one of the brightest characters within the Red Roses squad. I've got a lot of love for her, which
good love.
Yeah, it started at the O2 Arena. Drake and her and Zoe Harrison are just an incredible double act. They've got moves for days. I'd love to see the two of them on Strictly Come Dancing, but yeah, a good option. If she's not getting up, you can't have her. Okay, right. If you could replay one match again, what would it
be? For good and bad, I'd probably replay World Cup final 2014 again.
You put it on the line.
Say again?
You put it on the line.
Yeah. Well, wait, as in the outcome's different?
Well, we don't know.
Okay. No.
Yeah, just take the medal and run.
It could change my whole career, that could, probably the bronze medal match at the Olympics. Obviously, we lost, came fourth. That was like a really tough one to take, so I'd love to give that one another crack.
What was that experience like, going to Rio?
Yeah, unreal. We'd had chats from like hockey players and rowers and stuff, and people trying to explain to us what this ridiculous place would be like, and nothing could prepare you for what it was actually like. The village, the food hall, just everything. You felt like someone unbelievably special, but there was thousands of you, and it was just ridiculous.
Everyone talked about this food hall because there forever seems to be a moment where you're stood in a line, and next thing you know, you've got Usain Bolt reaching over your shoulder to grab a little bit of sweet corn or some ketchup or whatever. Did you have that starstruck moment?
Yeah, we saw Usain in the food hall, but he was just getting absolutely mobbed. Whereas obviously everybody was just wandering around, getting their food, stood in a queue for ages, and the choices were just ridiculous. It was like chaos. It was like having like Just Eat, when you go on and you've got all the things to pick from. It was like having all of them in front of you. Anyway, but yeah, he was just getting mobbed. I felt really sorry for him, because obviously he was literally, it must have taken him hours to try and just do anything in that place.
Just eat. Who's the coolest person you got to take a selfie with during the Olympics?
I'm not really a selfie girl.
Are you not?
No.
Okay, fair.
But
you got to spend a bit of time with and just chat.
Who would that be? That's a good question.
That's two, this interview. I'm chuffed with that.
I know, you don't
I've only been going an hour and a half, but there we
are. Some of the tennis lot, I think, but I didn't necessarily talk to them. So, like, Andy Murray was there, Johanna Konta was cool, actually. We were stood at a bus stop together for about 20 minutes, actually. I did actually speak to her. Classically, the transport system in Rio was, as it said it wasn't great. So we were stuck at a bus stop for a while, but she was cool.
Okay, awesome. Next question. I've already asked this. What's the one thing you miss about rugby? You said the girls. If you didn't play rugby, what other job would you want to do? Probably not a farmer, I remember.
I've written myself off that one already. I'd obviously love to play another sport, if I could. I always think a golfing lifestyle looks pretty cool.
Imagine that. just travel around the world. Caddy carries everything, earn millions, decent watch sponsor.
Yeah. And you always look smart, don't you?
Yes, exactly. You won't have to wear your knee pads anymore. They'd be retired.
No protective gear required.
Exactly. So golf, I could see you as a decathlete, actually.
Heptathlete.
Sorry, my bad. Sorry, sexist pig over here. Heptathlete. Sorry. I could see you as one. I think you.
Yeah, maybe. I'd fall down with like the hurdling and stuff like that.
It's a skill that could be worked on, but
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, golfing's probably a little bit easier. You don't have to be as fit. Let's face it. Look at. I mean, I'm not going to start name checking them, but you've only got to look at a few of them to realise you could still live a pretty decent social life and still be really good. Anyway, what one meal would you have every day in isolation? Is that another good question?
Yeah. Can I go generically with like barbecue? And then obviously you can kind of chop and change a little bit.
No. No, you're just one meat, because you'll go like chicken wings, sausages, steaks, pulled pork, ribs, which is amazing.
In the system.
That's a platter. We're not back in Rio in the food halls now.
Probably something like a fajita type situation, and then you can chop and change what you have in it. You just want one answer, don't you? How about a chicken roast dinner? Chicken roast dinner.
What are you having for dessert?
Stereotypically English. Like a sticky toffee pudding.
Yeah, okay, solid. Do you go ice cream or custard?
Ice cream.
What?
Yeah. Because it's all homemade, obviously. We make this like white chocolate ice cream to go with it. It is honestly ridiculous.
Okay, fair. Tell the Scarratts I'm coming round as and when we're out of lockdown, of course. Won't be breaking any government guidelines. Have you got a favourite Disney film?
I've got to be honest. Growing up on the farm, I didn't watch a huge amount of films or this stuff, but I have seen Brother Bear. It's probably one of the only ones I have seen. That's quite sad.
What was it called?
Brother Bear.
Brother Bear?
Yeah, it's really sad.
I've not seen
that. Lion King. Should we start again? Lion King.
Everyone's saying Lion King. Do you know, that's actually quite a difficult question. And lots of that has actually been tailored towards some of the dads that have got little kids. So
right,
forced to watch it. When I say forced to watch it, it's the best way of killing 2 hours, just sticking your kid in front of an iPad. Okay, everyone's had a bit of downtime now. What are you watching on Netflix, or what would you recommend on Netflix?
So I've done The Tiger King, obviously.
Nuts.
It's so ridiculous.
Like, is that like, if this can be real life, like how is that real life? How's that someone's? Well, how's that people's life?
The only way you can justify it is that it's American, and you're like, oh, all right.
It's possible.
It's possible.
Look at their president. I'm not getting political, but I just anyway, whatever.
And then at the moment, so I've watched a couple of seasons of Ozark, and I'm going back to watch the third.
I've not seen that. Is it really good?
Yeah, it's all right. I've probably not got into it. It's because I watched it ages ago. I should probably go back and start again, but I can't bother. So.
Okay, Ozark then. If you could be a superhero, who would it be?
Probably Spider-Man, I reckon.
Okay. Any reason in particular?
Is that not the right answer?
No. We've had quite a... Actually, has it been broad? Sam Warburton said... Sam Warburton? He said it as a gag, apparently, in a Q&A a long time ago. And then I think he ended up being... I've forgotten who it was. Actually. But there we are. Spider-Man's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's it for now. I mean, that's all the questions. I think you've been absolutely brilliant. Skaz, there's lots of people out there, all in different situations. I just wondered, a lot of people look up to yourself. Just perhaps a message of support to everyone out there who's trying to cope and deal with this isolation period, and perhaps a message to our NHS frontline workers.
Yeah, just I hope everyone's doing well. Huge thanks to all the NHS workers, key workers, everybody out there who's just saying they're just doing their job, but they're doing a hell of a lot more than that at the moment. I hope everyone's keeping well. Set yourself a timetable, set yourself a goal, keep kind of ploughing on, persevere with stuff, and keep smiling.
Brilliant stuff, Emily. Thanks so much for joining us on this little session. It's been absolutely brilliant to chat to you. Enjoy being at home. Look after yourself. Look after the family, and we'll catch up with you very soon.
Thank you. You too. Cheers.
Cheers, then. I actually forgot to even mention the fact that you're the current Women's World Player of the Year. Like, I mean, why didn't start the interview with that rather than finish? But by the way, you've had quite a decent season. I mean, I know I've just finished it, but I've just got to go back and just touch upon that. Number one, how good was that to receive that award in Japan off the back of the World Cup, and how did you celebrate that night?
Yeah, it was nuts. It was honestly nuts. Like, that whole trip was ridiculous. So I literally flew out on the Saturday, landed, went to the World Cup final. Sunday had the awards evening, flew out Monday, flew straight back to camp, flew to France on Wednesday because we had an autumn international the following weekend. It was literally it was chaos. So how did I celebrate? I didn't really, because obviously things were a bit kind of tight at that time. I was still jet lagged to hell from even getting out there. So that they were put on hold until kind of after the autumns, and then we had a good time. But yeah, just whole thing, just ridiculous. I don't think it's sunk in yet.
That's amazing, because not only did you go out, World Cup final, be crowned with the best female rugby player in the world, fly back, then go to France, world record crowd, and then beat France out in France. That's a decent few days of work, isn't it?
Yeah, it was all right. Honestly, the end of that 2.5 weeks, I was like a zombie. It was just chaos. I don't think I ever recovered, because we played France in France, then we came back, drove to Exeter because we played France in Exeter, which was brilliant, but obviously it wasn't exactly kind of at home for us as such when we'd gone back to London. And then we re-met in Bedford to play Italy, went out in Bedford, and then, I think I slept for a week. It was cool.
Outstanding. Well, here you are, Emily Scarratt, the best female rugby player in the world, now currently farming. Thank you so much. Take care.
Cheers, guys.